Welcome everyone to another podcast of Southern Dirt Motorsports. I'm Randall Davis, and to my left is Gary Lawrence, and to my right over here is Mr. Mike Luna. They'll be helping me host this session today, and we have with us today is Randy and Brendan Stanfield. We have a father and son team. Old father here, he's been around the track a few times, and now he's teaching son how to do it. And I understand son's doing pretty good. They've been good enough, kind enough to come and share their race story with us today. And with that, Randy,
yes, sir.
Since you were the start of this, whatever in the world got you started in driving old race cars anyway?
Well, I've always had a hot rod out on the road. If you got a hot rod, you're gonna hot rod it. And when I got so many tickets, I said, I guess I need to get on the racetrack.
And at least then they didn't have a speed limit
right
on the racetrack.
Right.
Where did what was the event that happened that did put you in a race car to start with? Well, you were hanging around somewhere at some point, I know.
I'd been to the races, and I thought, I believe I can do that. So,
boy, does that ever sound
familiar. Yeah, I got a story on that too, guys. What happened now? But so I bought my first car from a local guy, and it was considered a late model then, but it was a Camaro steel body car, leaf springs, but it had a Camaro snout on it, but it had tube back. And I got it, worked on it, went to North Georgia, and this is in '84. And they had just started putting the bodies on them like they are today. And in driver's meeting, an old guy said, you need to tell these guys to get these hobby cars in the hobby class. And I knew who he was talking about. So when the race was done, he come and apologized to me because I won the race.
That would require an apology, I would say.
So from that day on, I thought, I believe I can do it. Yeah.
Well, where was this first race?
North Georgia Speedway.
And by the way, where do you guys, for the people that don't know, where do you guys live now?
Soddy Daisy, Tennessee.
Now you have, you've done well. You're moving closer to us now.
Yeah, I actually live on a mountain, Mulberry Mountain.
Yeah, that's a nice place. I like that place. Well, what classes of cars during your career did you drive? Well,
I started with that one, and then it was actually called Limited Sportsman.
They've been through an evolution.
Yeah, start there and then go to Sportsman, go to late model.
Modified Sportsman.
Modified Sportsman, so I've run all of those, yeah.
You know, at a point in time too, we could make one out of the other by changing a carburetor or something.
Yes.
You could actually run both classes by a little bit of changes sometime. Or, I guess, do you have any idea how many years did you race? Now, we've talked about this a little off camera before, but I ain't real sure you're not still doing it.
I'm trying to do it a little bit here and there just so I don't get completely rusty. I don't compete, but like if we go to a practice day or something.
But you would.
I would, and I'm thinking about it again.
Now, we've talked about this a little bit before. Now, there's a difference in quitting racing and just not doing it anymore.
Right.
When you quit, you just quit.
Yes.
That's it. You have a big celebration. Yeah. I've retired. But when you just don't do it anymore, you don't know whether you're going to do it again or not.
Correct.
So that's I believe that's about where you're at.
I think that's where I'm at.
And that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
That's about where I'm at too.
Whenever I did think I was going to quit, about that time we got Brandon started, and he started in quarter midgets down at Huntsville Speedway.
That's a fun place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How big is that track?
1/10 of a mile.
And not on the
not on the big one. Yeah, this is
Is it right there at the?
It's close to
right.
it. Close to it. But
Well, you said quarter midgets. What kind of cars we talking about?
They was just like the regular full-size midgets that you see racing on TV, like the non-wing sprints kind of. They were just a quarter size of that, little open wheel cars. Was on that little bitty track.
And what type of engines did they use?
They had the Honda GX 120s and 160s. Stick those in there.
And those are basically motorcycle engines?
Pretty much. But I really enjoyed starting out in that because you had, like I said, a little bitty racetrack and the open wheel cars. It really taught you pretty good reactions and how to race somebody without, running over them. Because when you did,
Yeah, I was gonna say, open wheel cars will teach you a lot of what not to do.
exactly.
We got a picture of him on his top. Of course, that's
Yeah.
what happened.
That's gonna happen.
Had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to run that chili boat. Always
Yeah.
been attracted to that for some reason.
Well, there's no
And-
reason that
and
you can't.
I don't even I like watching sprint cars, but as far as driving one, no desire at all. But that chili boat has always been special to me for some reason.
Now, old Brandon over there, the first sprint car that comes available to him, he's gonna climb in that sucker.
You know, Morris Bass had one.
Yeah.
I don't know if he sold it. He was
had
going.
one.
He sold it.
No, I don't know if he did or not. I seen
Yeah,
it.
he's got a sprint car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's a ASCS car.
I'm not sure.
Sprint cars are something you think you're in control of, but they're out of control all the time.
Right.
Well, they're too sideways for me. I always wanted to be straight as I could be.
Well, you can be straight in one of them,
Yeah.
but it usually don't work
You
out.
don't go down there and turn, yeah.
Well, Brandon, I know how you got started, but tell us a little bit about your evolution now from the midgets on up to where you're at now, the things you've gone through to get to where you are now today.
I think the biggest difference was, we ran those on asphalt. And then when we decided to move up to dirt, we got a little old pony car and a little Mustang. And I ran it for a year.
That was a 4-cylinder, probably.
It was. Ran it for a year and then moved up to what was the hobby class. They had the Camaro front end, the 3-link rear. And I ran those for a few years. Won a few races in those, won a championship at Cleveland with it. And then we moved up to the sportsman class where we're at now. We've had a couple of those cars. And so, kind of worked my way up from running those little open wheels on asphalt. Went to a little 4-cylinder car on the dirt. Went to the hobby class, and now we've been running sportsman the last few years.
Have you won more championships besides the pony?
We won the hobby championship at Cleveland, and then year before last, we won the sportsman championship at Mountain View.
What number do you use now, Brandon?
Same as him, 28.
Okay. There are a lot of people, the reason I asked that question, a lot of people do see the number on the car, but they see the guy out of the car, out of his fire suit, his head's not in the helmet anymore, and they have no idea what you look like or who you are, and I like to ask that question when I think of it, so that they know that I know what that guy looks like.
How come you had 28, Randy? Well, I meant to ask Dave that.
That was the year I started racing. I was 28 years old.
I thought he was gonna say 1928.
And that's the only reason.
Yeah.
Usually a guy there's a reason for a certain number takes place, and he gets attached to that number and wants it throughout, and as long as it's fast, the number's all right with me.
Yeah, that's what I kept telling Brandon when we watched races. I said 28 there will be fine.
The little midget cars, what kind of suspension did they have in them, right?
They actually had coilovers on them. Yeah, they were gas shocks.
That was a pretty advanced.
Oh, yeah.
How old was you when you started, Brandon?
I think I was 11 when I started racing one of those.
That's a good idea. Good idea.
That's good.
They-
If you're gonna be good this day and time, you've gotta start early.
Yes.
A lot of them start in go-karts, and I know some of the Cup drivers got their kids out there in go-karts and stuff.
When we were down there running, they have a big regional race for those, and
Blaney was down there.
Blaney was down there, Burton was down there. Their kids now's in NASCAR.
Kyle Busch probably, his boy races with him.
Yeah, but then Ernie Irvin's boy was down there. Those three was down when we was running.
Old Ernie, I think, would have been one of the all-out great ones, him and Tim Richmond both.
Yes.
Of course, Ernie is still around, but he got hurt real bad, but he was really, really good.
Yeah.
And old Tim Richmond was too. But do you build your own cars? You buy them, or you do a little bit of both, or what happens there?
A little bit of both, really. We do a lot of our own work on them, like all the sheet metal work, all our bodies, we build our own bodies.
When you got your own business, then don't you worry you put bodies on?
I do some for people. Yep.
I should have asked this earlier, but what kind of business are you guys really in?
I'm a machinist by trade.
Well, that's what I was throughout life.
But you do bodies. too.
Yeah, I do body work for people, and then, you know, being a machinist, there's been several times that, you know, I'll make my own parts for the car.
I've seen some of
There are some
the
advantages to that.
bodies that Brandon's done. They look good, really good.
Well, where are you guys? I know you're probably racing at several different tracks, but where are you racing for the most part at now?
Mostly we've been going to Spring City over there at Mountain View. And then we run at I-75 a couple times. I like Crossville. I like racing there, but I'd say probably my favorite track was Cleveland.
That's what I was going to ask.
I really love that track, but you know,
they throughout a guy's racing career too, there's always things that's real memorable. What is the most memorable race that you ever won?
I would say, obviously aside from my first one, I would say besides that, probably when I got my first win at Crossville. I really enjoyed that win just because I knew that was the place that he always liked to race at. And so whenever I went up there and was driving and we was able to get a win up there, that was pretty special, I thought.
For sure.
And Randy, I forgot to ask you, what was your most memorable win that you ever had? Now, I'm not going to let you out of this.
Well, I like racing with Mike here, and we had some good races. And I'd win some, Mike win some, and
Well, did you enjoy him beating you?
No. We enjoyed the friendship, but you get on the racetrack, Mike's the same as me. We're competitive.
That's what makes racers what they are.
Yeah.
It's not that they're mad at anybody. They just like they like the feel of the competition.
Me and Randy's were half of inches off each other. And I don't believe we ever touched.
No.
Ever.
And you can race today that same way, but the other guy won't. I mean, they're gonna rub you today.
Hey, when
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
more money and the more pressure you get into any sport, and there's lots of it out there in racing right now, the more of that rubbing and knocking takes place. I know back when Gary and his dad and myself, we'd go through phases where we beat and banged on each other, and just, I don't know how it gets started. Usually a promoter would do something to stop it. But you would go through phases. It seemed like that's what everybody was doing.
Well, back in the promoters was bad. Of course, it would bring crowd. And he agged on to get it. To get it. Advance where you get a better crowd to tell us, you know, I said, we wasn't nothing, you know, we didn't have a problem. They said, well, yeah, but look at the crowd it brought.
Hey, it got so bad, and I think Gary, the reason Gary's going to remember some of this, because we was at a lot of the same places together. They even got to a point when they put inside, and I'll call them Nerf bars on late models, they turned the bolts to the outside. So the long
Cut
part
the
of
tires,
it. And finally they put a stop to that too. I know BK Luna had one, I think it was an old 35 or 6 Ford car that he built I'll call it a guardrail around the rear wheels of it. And
fender skirts on it.
Yeah, that created a big controversy, but I mean, he decided if they're gonna do this, I'm gonna do it better. So,
Tell Randall and Gary about that story we had with BK.
Oh yeah.
any BK story I like hearing.
Yeah. We'd run
BK's my buddy, by the way.
BK always thought I was running a cheated up motor. Well, me and
Where
Mike.
were you?
No, no, I got pictures to show that too, where they had one scattered. Yeah, but anyway, we was going down through there and BK was gonna start on the pump. Me and Mike right there with him. He goes down there and spins out about 3 or 4 times. Finally, he decides he's gonna get it, so I think Mike went on outside of him, I went on inside of him, we both passed him in the first corner. Oh, he had a fit. He had a fit. Said, y'all
I don't
cheating.
blame him. Y'all gave it up on him.
We never touched them.
No,
We didn't
no.
touch. BK was always my hero. He didn't understand, you know, and I didn't either, but I do now. You know, it bothered him like when we would outrun BK, but he was my hero. He really was, you know.
BK was,
But I beat him in my mind when I was little so many times, not just because you know, I'd go to bed dreaming of winning a feature, a main event.
Right.
And in my mind, I'd done it, no telling how many times.
Well, BK, he gave everything he had to a race that he ever sat in.
Everything.
He
was a tough competitor, and you know, he taught me a lot about competing.
And he was a good guy.
Yeah, he was. BK liked you. He'd do anything for you, but now he sure didn't like to get beaten.
You're not supposed to.
No, no.
You're supposed to smile about it, but you sure get behind that truck when you don't like it.
A good loser's a loser.
That's like doing our setups too. When I first started, I had a guy set my car up, but I didn't know anything. And the guy that went to the racetrack with me, he said, if you don't quit showing out, you're gonna wreck the car. I said, I'm trying to get it back in the pits. From then on, I told him, I said, we're setting our own cars up.
Well, what kind of suspension are you guys using now on your cars?
We just got regular old shocks on there, no adjustment or nothing like that.
What kind of links?
It's
are
4-link.
How is your 4-link set up? Is it with a swing arm, a sway bar, or just a?
Just 4-bar with a J.
Yep.
4 bars with a
how-
J bar. 4 bars with a J bar.
Now
That's what I was trying to ask. I just said it in a different manner.
that hobby car that we had, it was 3-link in the rear, but it was on a swing arm. And that thing, it would hook up and go.
Yeah.
Well, I like that in a round car. There's a lot of adjustability there.
Yep.
And you gotta have that. I hate having to fool with one, but you gotta have that anymore.
Yeah.
And Randy said they was coming with a new class at where?
I-75.
I-75, and then it's gonna be what,
I
Randy?
think modified hobby was.
Modified hobby, they're gonna call it.
And what will that be like? I mean, what are
It's
these?
similar cars that we got now, but most cars now's got a raised right front frame rail
Yeah,
where you can lay them down in the dirt and not dig.
Right.
yeah.
But they say in that class, they're not gonna let you run a raised rail. So I'm not sure where they're gonna get the chassis.
Well, you know, the new chassis, like on the right side, when you get right over there, say it would be the firewall on a regular car, they just go straight up so they can get.
Yeah, lay over.
Yeah.
Most cars now is laying over on
Yeah,
the
well,
right
it's
side.
amazing. That's one of the amazing things about the modern day dirt track cars to me is the amount of body roll they have in them. And of course, body roll gives you side back, and that's where you get side back from.
And at one time, I can remember when they tried to make them all run level. They was tying them down and they just make them as level as they could be.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then-
you know, they still say it's faster, but they can't prove it.
Well, and I think it's proven that until they get trying to run flat perfected more than what it is, that the body roll is the fast way to go. The
Blomquist
more body
always,
roll you've got, the faster you can go through a turn to an extent. Now, there's a limit to everything.
I wanted most of my races on 3 wheels, but Blomquist says that 4 wheels are faster than 3.
Well, it is. It's gotta be. It all depends on the way those 3 and 4 are applied, where they meet the track at.
Right.
It's all relative.
You thinking about racing this year, Randy?
I mean,
That's some news. That's some news.
I think we got an audience out there that's ready for you to make that decision.
Yeah. Keep us
I'm
updated.
gonna do
If
a
they're
hot
not,
lap
if
first.
they're not, they will be. You guys has been, especially you, Randy, has been into this a while and with Brandon men in it. Where do you see that racing needs to go to help the average guy get into racing? What do you see, in your mind, what do you think needs to happen now? And with your hands, man, aren't you be a goodie?
Yeah. Well, the one thing to me is the cost. The cost is unreal. Me and Brandon fund everything we do, and that takes a lot, you know. If we can, that's the reason we in the sportsman class, because you run the non-adjustable shocks, which is cheaper. So
I've understood that shock package they run now, they could have anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000
you're exactly right.
just in a set of shocks and
Yes.
springs.
Yeah.
And then you gotta have different sets for every track. So
And then you're gonna have to pay somebody, if you don't have an engineer helping you, you're gonna have to pay somebody to consult for the whole year, because you ain't gonna
Yeah.
know
Yep.
what
You
to
don't know what to do with them.
Or what, you know, they change pistons in them and everything.
Yeah. So that, to me, right there would be a blow to anybody that's trying to fund their own racing.
Yeah.
It's just trying to put shocks in.
You're right. The shock package, you know, for average guy, they need to get it where, like, people like us, we love racing, but you can't keep funding it if you don't come back.
I think about a lot when I watch the races. A pickup truck has got almost a perfect chassis under it to me for a starter guy getting into it. Their rear drive and front engine, and I think some pickup truck classes that left basically stock could be a good starter class for the average guy to get into. That's just me thinking and looking at what's there. You got to look at what's there for you to start with.
I think that's what they're trying to do with this Crown Vic class that's been popping up pretty much everywhere lately.
It's going to be
And they have like a 10,000 win somewhere, don't they?
I think it's going to be a real popular. Though enduro racing at one time
Yeah,
got real
it was.
popular. Boy, I enjoyed that.
No cautions, that's what was
Yeah, I really
so
like
fun
that.
about that enduro stuff.
Well, guys, thank you for being here. I know we've just touched the surface, but gotta have you back. You're the kind of guys I really enjoy talking to, the everyday racer. And like Randy says, you fund your own stuff, and his father has passed it over to a son, and I really like that.
I'd like to say though, there's a problem with what we do when you take these two right here, good people, and you take your shock package, it runs them out of what we all love. That's a big problem.
It is. And there's got to be, to make it work again, there's got to be some containment done to it to keep it in a price range where people can do it, or the local races will go away. I think that price is what's put a lot of local things out of business. And I'll say again, the Golden Mountain Speedway that's trying to open up and will open up again this spring, they're looking at all of that too, to try to make it they're gonna have the high shelf racing, but they're looking at some lower classes too, where normal average people can do. So I think that's gonna work out for them real well. They're willing to listen. Now with that, thank you both again. Appreciate you being here.
Oh, yeah.
And on behalf of Northville Vineyard and WATEV TV and Mac Middle Channel 6, it's a public TV station. They support this podcast greatly. So does the Northville Vineyard. Without the two of them, it would be hard to do. And again, if you have an event of any kind, a birthday, anniversary, a wedding, or whatever, any kind of celebration, check with the Northville Vineyard. They can work out some prices for you that I think is going to be really, really hard to beat, and it's something that you can always remember of coming back to. So with that being said, thank you for watching. One other thing I will ask you to really do that this keeps us going is to like us and subscribe. The subscription cost is absolutely nothing. some do. This one don't. This cost is absolutely nothing. The subscriptions keeps us going. And with that, thank you all.